The number one strategy that you're probably not using as an athlete or as a coach, it's going to help you to speed up your development and maximize your potential. You're going to learn it here today. I'm Brian Cain, a mental performance coach. It's had the privilege to work with over 1,000 athletes drafted in Major League Baseball, 4 Cy Young Award winners, a Heisman Trophy winner, and 8 UFC world champions. I've had countless high school state champions and over 10 NCAA national champions, and they all understand one key principle. It's called the success loop. And the success loop is this: I prepare, I perform, I reflect. Just ask yourself, as a coach or an athlete or a parent of an athlete, how much time goes into preparation and then performance and then reflection? Well, if you're like most coaches and athletes walking the planet, the majority of your time goes into preparation, practice, training, film, meetings. And the second most amount of time goes into competition, performance. The least amount of time goes into reflection. What's the problem with that? The problem is reflection is where most of the growth happens. Reflection is where most of the learning happens. Reflection is where you get to extract the DNA from that performance and improve your preparation moving forward. So in this video, I want to share with you a framework for journaling and reflection that you can use to help speed up your learning curve, maximize your development, and perform at your best when it means the most. So, journaling. I want to start with a story. It came from a podcast with Lewis Howes and Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was asked in this podcast, he said, "Kobe, what does losing feel like to you?" So I want to ask you, what does losing feel like to you? And when I ask that to clients of mine and audiences, typically I get answers like, "It sucks, I hate it, it's the worst, I can't stand it." Kobe Bryant, what's he say? He says, "Oh, it's exciting."
Why is it exciting?
Because it means you have different ways to get better. There's certain things that you can figure out that you can take advantage of, right? Certain weaknesses that were exposed that you need to shore up, right? So it was exciting. I mean, it sucks to lose,
right?
But at the same time, there are answers there.
Why is losing exciting for Kobe? Because there's answers there. And Lewis Howes, the interviewer, says, "Well, you probably learn more from losing than from winning." And Kobe goes, "Well, no, there's answers there in both. You just have to go looking for them." If you look at it and you will have the same process, whether you win or you lose, that process is how you reflect, you're going to be able to extract the learning and get better. You have to ask yourself, whether I win or lose, what did I do well? What do I think I can do better, and how am I going to do it? So that is the first step that you're going to take in your performance journaling. After a practice, after a competition, you're going to sit with the journal and you're going to write down, what did I do well? What do I think I can do better? And how am I going to go about doing it? Now, if you're looking to get a journal, what I recommend, one second, you just get a very simple one like this from Amazon, a little short notebook that you can get. It's about 200, maybe 150 pages. Pick it up on Amazon for less than $5. Might be the best $5 purchase that you ever make. And what you're going to do on that first page of that notebook is, on the inside cover is what I want you to keep like your journal template, your journal framework. And you're going to write well, better, how. And we're going to use that first page as like a sample of all the things you're going to write. And then each page after that, you'd put down the date, you'd write down your well, better, how. Now, the thing I love about well, better, how after a practice, after a performance, is you have to start with looking at what you did well. In most athletes, when they reflect, it's on what do I got to do better with my mechanics? What didn't go my way? And we want to start with those wins. So what did I do well? What can I do better? How am I going to do it? And if that's literally all you did with your performance journal, you close that book. The next day you show up to prepare. Guess what? You open up the journal and there it is looking at you. Well, better, how. That allows you to then take your mindset and connect it from what you did yesterday into today. And a lot of coaches and athletes I work with, one of the challenges that they have is letting go of the day and refocusing back on the other aspects of their life. It's the student and athlete, separating those two. It's the coach, separating coaching and parenting, and being where your feet are outside of your sport. The journal helps you to do that. So well, better, how, post-training, and then pre-training or pre-game, you can look at what you wrote down and then maybe jot down what your most important thing is for that day's training. What am I going to lock in on that day? What's my number one thing for that day's training? And then evaluate that as well at the end of the day. Now, that's one of the easiest ways to start with a performance journal. and one of the best pitchers in baseball, Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers. He does a performance journal, and it's very similar to that. He'll just write down his well, better, how after each outing, and then he'll go to work to try to correct that moving forward.
Going down that road a little further, I know that you've employed the help of a sports psychologist, as so many successful big leaguers have, and one of the things that person advocated for you was to keep a journal, and I guess that's something that you're still doing to this day?
Yep, I still got it. They had me bring it out to show you guys, but yeah, that's kind of my pitching secrets journal there. It's just kind of log, daily routines, start days, just kind of how I break down starts. It's got some scouting report stuff in there, mechanical cues. So for me, it's kind of like an all-in-one journal, but it's mostly for the mental side of it. Just kind of things I'm doing well, things I want to work on, breaking down starts, that kind of thing. So after your start in St. Louis tomorrow, how soon after you come out of the ball game, in the ninth, how soon will you make your entry into the journal? Does it ever get accompanied by pictures? Because we think that it might look something like this tomorrow, possibly. No, that's a lot better art than I could ever do. Okay. But yeah, usually when I'm done, there's a few notes, but most of the notes happen the next day when I'm breaking down film and starting to plan the work week leading into the next start.
Now, the other things that you can do as an athlete, let's say, for example, you're a baseball pitcher. You're going to want to evaluate your execution. Execution is where you throw the baseball. It's the only thing you can control. Let's say you are a golfer. You might look at your stats and put your stats after a round in your journal so you can see it there. If you're a football player, you might do some reflecting on how you did at separating play to play and series to series, right? We want to have some form of evaluation that is other than just the outcome of win-lose, because we don't always control the outcome of win-lose. Some of the bowlers that I work with Team USA, they'll come back and they'll reflect on what the oil patterns of the lane were, what their ball was doing. So there's a very specific process that you can create based off of your sport that becomes part of that post-game, post-practice reflection with your well, better, how, and then they use that as information moving forward for the next day. Now, if you want to keep a performance journal on a daily basis and you want to add some mindset work to it, let me share with you some of my favorite and most used strategies that you can help develop an elite mindset. Number one, you're going to write down 3 wins in the last 24 hours. What were 3 victories that you had in the last 24 hours? Number 2, what were 3 gratitudes? 3 gratitudes that you're taking with you from the last 24 hours, things that you're grateful for. And both of those backed up by research. The 3 wins, BJ Fogg in his book, Tiny Habits, a professor at Stanford. And then the 3 gratitudes, Robert Emmons in his book, Gratitude Works. They talk about all the research behind why celebration, your 3 wins, and gratitude are so important for you as a competitor. Now, after that, you would write down your MIT. What's my most important task for today's training? What's the number one thing I got to lock in on today? Then I encourage you to write down, outside of your sport, more of a life framework, start, stop, continue. Based off of your behavior in your life in the last 24 hours, what is it you need to start? What is it that you must stop? And what is it you're going to continue? Start, stop, continue from the last 24 hours. And then if you want to take some notes, let's say on my Mental Performance Daily podcast and on Dr. Rob Gilbert's Success Hotline, there you have it. There's your journal. Again, to review, it's well, better, how, post-practice, and then some process-based evaluation on how you felt you performed. And then as every day, part of your morning routine or maybe startup routine before practice is you would look at yesterday's well, better, how, craft your game plan for today, and then write down 3 wins, 3 gratitudes, your most important task, and a start, stop, continue from your life, as well as notes on Mental Performance Daily and Success Hotline. Now, you can also journal things that you've learned. Let's say you have team meetings. Let's say there's a speaker that comes in. It's amazing. I was working with a player in the San Francisco Giants organization. I'd had him in college, and he's out here in Arizona for spring training. And we were talking, and he was like, hey, I'm just kind of feel like I'm underperforming in spring training. I said, well, are you journaling every day? He said, no. I said, okay, let's start there. And I said, when you go into a team meeting, do you bring a notebook? He goes, no, most of the time it's just, stuff we have to hear. I don't necessarily need to write it down. I said, you mean to tell me that you think your organization is organized enough that if one of the best players ever, let's say Barry Bonds or somebody were to come rolling through and they were at spring training, that they're going to have all that organized and prepared ahead of time? Like, he might just show up for a day with his family and they might say, hey, would you come speak to our minor leaguers? I go, bring a notebook to every meeting you go to. That is standard. Professional athlete, college athlete, high school athlete, notebook in every single meeting, because you never know the one day that your life can be changed from content or stuff that gets shared with you. It's like if I listen to Mental Performance Daily, it's not the same as if I do it. If I know how to keep a performance journal, it's not nearly the same as if I do it, right? Close the biggest gap in the world, which is the knowing-doing gap. Most people know they should reflect. They just don't do it. Most people know they should keep a journal as a part of a routine. They just don't do it. Well, this player says to me 3 days later, he calls me and goes, Cainer, you can't make this up, but guess who came walking into spring training? And I was the only guy of all the minor leaguers in the room with a notebook. Now, is that going to put him into the major leagues? No. But is that going to allow him to get the most out of every day, which is the ticket to getting to the major leagues? Yes. So let's stop counting the days. Let's start making the days count. Let's continue to prepare at an elite level so we can perform at an elite level. And let's make sure that we're reflecting and downloading our brain to paper using a journal to separate who we are and what we do. Separate coach and parent, separate student and athlete, and be where your feet are. The journal is going to help you to do that. Dominate the day. Please share a comment below. Thanks for being here.